I'm Linguist Vicki Li, and today I'm with Duolingo, comparing Naruto's dubs to the Japanese originals to understand where the dubs got things right and what they got very, very wrong. First, let's see how dubbing changes the tone of friendship and rivalry. So this is the scene where Naruto and Sasuke have their big battle, and you can see from how they refer to each other the bond between the two of them.
無意味じゃない。俺にとってお前は最も親しい友になった。
They weren't meaningless. One thing was worthwhile. Our friendship. We became best friends.
You know, the problem with this translation of the scene is that best friends in English doesn't carry a lot of meaning. In American culture, you can meet someone for a couple of days and they can become your bestie. We don't have a lot of terms for friendship and kinship in English, but in the Japanese, he says motomo first of all, which means like the most. Shitashi tomo. So, shitashi means you're close in bond to that person, but you don't really use it unless this is family or a very, very close friend. There's distance between people in Japanese, and that culture is seen in the language. You don't even refer to people by their first name until you've decided we're really, really close. So, if you were to call someone your not even just a regular shitashi tomo, motomo shitashi, that is your most closest friend to you compared to literally anybody else. This line is what shows how Naruto feels about Sasuke. Orochimaru nanka, it's like someone like Orochimaru, ni yarane. Yarane is like a very casual way of saying I won't give you to someone. This suggests a sense of like possession that Naruto feels over Sasuke, that you're my person and I'm not gonna give you up to someone like Orochimaru. That bond between them is very clear in the Japanese. Whereas the English, he says, Sasuke! I'm not letting Orochimaru take you away! That takes Naruto's own position out of the equation and focuses more on Orochimaru as the bad guy is trying to do bad things and take away his friend. Hey Duo, run this line back. So in the English he says, I'm not letting Orochimaru take you away, but I think it'd be much better as I'm not giving you up to someone like Orochimaru. We want to keep that possessiveness aspect in English. Okay, listen. I agree. This is my ship that will never sink. You can see in the way that they talk to each other that it is understandable where people are getting that impression from. So this is a scene where Kakashi says his famous line at the memorial stone.
忍者の世界でルールや掟を破るやつはクズ呼ばわりされる。けどな、仲間を大切にしないやつはそれ以上のクズだ。
Preach. I feel like the translators had a high hurdle to cross for this one. You had to do it really well. So for the Japanese, 仲間を大切にしない. It's friends, but also something closer than friends. Like your soul-bonded people, your team, comrades. This is a very difficult word to translate. Friends is fine. It covers what it needs to cover. The thing I want to point out is the following part of 大切にしない. Taisetsu means something that's important. There's an element of like action there, that you take action to treasure that person, to take care of them, to make sure that they're okay. So with the context of these people standing in front of the memorial stone, which is all the ninja who have died in battle, Kakashi is giving like a warning. This is your chance to treasure your nakama while they're still alive. You won't get that chance after they've passed. Whereas the English goes for those who abandon their friends.
In the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum. That's true. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum.
It covers the idea you have each other's backs, you don't abandon them when you are fighting someone, but it loses out on the idea of caring for them outside of battle too. Next, let's see how dubs can differ when it comes to cruelty versus calculation. This is another really famous scene of Itachi telling Sasuke that he's weak.
お前は弱い。なぜ弱いか。足りないからだ。憎しみが。
The way Itachi expresses how much Sasuke is missing his hatred is different between the Japanese and the English. You're weak. Why are you weak? Because you don't have enough hatred. But the English kind of truncates that into the first part before he leans in.
You're still too weak. You don't have enough hate.
And then he leans in and he rage baits Sasuke with this.
And you know something? You never will.
I think the dub did a good job here. It makes sense for Sasuke after this to be losing his mind trying to get stronger because his brother, who he has a lot of beef with in the history of their family, challenged him in a very cruel way. The Japanese has its own merits because the Japanese is closer to who Itachi is as a person. All of what Itachi is doing is based off of this goal for Sasuke's future. He never actually wants Sasuke to suffer, but he understands that suffering is necessary on the road to survival, to becoming strong enough. It's just calculation. In this scene, Naruto has been replaced by an enemy who's disguised as Naruto.
合言葉を決めておく。
合言葉？
合言葉が違った場合はどんな姿形でも敵とみなせ。
English Sasuke and the Japanese Sasuke are like two different people for this scene. I actually really enjoy how sassy Sasuke is.
You really think Naruto could memorize all that? And get it word for word?
Sasuke in the Japanese is very clear cut, very clean.
もし合言葉はと聞かれたら普段のナルトなら
But the English adds on all of these extra terms.
Not the Naruto I know, not in a million years. You'd have a better chance teaching it to a hamster.
It kind of helps portray the relationship between these two, that they're close enough where, you know, when you're friends, you take jabs at each other, just, oh, this idiot, but you don't really mean it. In the English, it can be a little bit hard to sense if Sasuke really means it or not. But there seems to be a little bit of an element of cruelty here, where he's not only says, like, Naruto wouldn't know that in a million years, like, he's exaggerating, but also it'd be easier to teach a hamster the password. The extra mile there, that there's no semblance of that in the Japanese. Next, let's see how language choices shape the idea of pain. So this is a scene where Iruka saves Naruto in the beginning of the series, and Iruka is thinking about his own childhood and relating back to what Naruto felt when he was a kid.
誰も俺のことを褒めたり認めてくれる人がいなくなっちまった。苦しかった。
He uses the word mitomeru, which means to be recognized, but it strongly means you recognize them and you acknowledge their existence and their worth as a person. Versus the English, where it says,
And then I had to pay for it. It was hard.
when the Japanese has this vocabulary word, mitomeru, it has weight behind it of not only being remembered, but being acknowledged and being valued for your self-worth and who you are as a person. In the Japanese, he says kurushii.
人の気を引きつけたかったから苦しかった。
Kurushii can mean hard, but it means more like suffering. So hard that you can't breathe, like you feel you're being suffocated by the situation. That shift makes it so that both of their childhoods are less like a struggle and more like emotionally crushing. If there's any point where the dub feels like it's falling flat, it's points like here. So this is a scene where Haku is dying and Naruto confronts Zabuza about how he feels about Haku's death. So in the Japanese, we have another word for pain here, but instead of kurushi, we have tsurai. Tsurai is when something is really rough, it feels like it's difficult. Naruto says tsuratsugiru. When you have this grammar point of sugiru, it means like it's too much. It's overwhelmingly too much. This being translated to that's so wrong?
Man, that's so wrong.
That's so wrong feels a little bit flat. So the switch makes it sound like Naruto is criticizing the situation in the dub, but in the Japanese, he sounds like he's empathizing with Haku's position. And then Zabuza, who is being criticized by Naruto for how he's reacting, he says this line.
それ以上何も言うな。
I can't take you saying any more about the situation. I know that it is rough. I know that it is emotional. And I can't handle you saying anything else. The English goes for...
You talk too much.
Which doesn't convey the same idea of Zabuza feeling overwhelmed with emotion. It kind of minimizes that pain in that situation and says, Naruto, you're being annoying.
Your words cut deep. Deeper than any blade.
It doesn't recognize how much Naruto's words are affecting him. In the English, he says, you talk too much. But I think a much better translation would be, Brat, don't say any more than that. Next, let's see how honor is framed differently in dubs. So this is the scene where the third Hokage is facing Orochimaru. So in the Japanese, Orochimaru has a clear idea of his standing between his teacher, which was the third Hokage. Orochimaru says like, oh, why didn't you dodge? He says it with grammar that's formal, that's like actually pretty polite, because he has this like reminiscent idea of this person used to be my teacher. And then later when Orochimaru realizes that he's being sealed off from like his power later on in his life, then he loses this sense of honor and he calls him oibore, which is like you feeble old man. The dub misses out on this switch between something that's formal and something that's like an outburst of anger. You don't really see it in the dub. It just looks like Orochimaru from the beginning is just rude.
Old man, why didn't you dodge it? You feeble old man! Give me back my arms!
So the dub flattens that dynamic. Less teacher versus student, and more so just two enemies fighting. Next up. So this is the scene where Naruto is fighting Neji, but we're more interested in how Neji refers to his family. Roll the tape!
結局のところ、お前も日向様と同じ運命だ。
So the big point for this clip is the difference in how Neji refers to Hinata, who is his cousin, blood-related cousin. But the problem with his family is they're a very prestigious family, and there's a main clan and like a subordinate clan, and the subordinate clan has like a subservient relationship to the main clan. The sub has honor and class difference that is unique to the time period of Japan that we're looking at in Naruto. So you can see that in the language of how Neji talks about Hinata and also before Hinata's father. In the dub, you see that Neji calls Hinata just Hinata.
It's fitting that you sympathize with Hinata because you're about to share her fate.
But in the sub, you have this honorific. So we have honorifics in Japanese that don't translate well into English because they don't exist in English. So the one that Neji uses here is sama.
結局のところ、お前も日向様と同じ運命だ。
If I had to translate sama to English, would be like your royal highness is an appropriate comparison. People don't use that in English unless you're talking about the queen, and even in modern Japanese it's very rare to use. Anytime he mentions Hinata or her dad, Neji will always have to give them that kind of respect. When Neji grows as a person and he kind of gets out of this idea that he is inferior to the main clan and he grows, he will still refer to Hinata as Hinata-sama, because that's how much the class difference is ingrained in his language and in him as a person for all of his life. Finally, let's explore how some aspects of Japanese culture are just untranslatable. So let's go back to the Zabuza scene, but this time, let's look at attack names.
Water style. Water dragon jutsu. Water style. Giant vortex jutsu.
Attacks mentioned in this clip are still kind of okay. Great giant vortex or water dragon. Okay, that's fair. There are a lot of things that can be considered untranslatable. Like the word for jutsu, which technically you could say spell, but spell can be a lot of things in Japanese culture. The dub choice of leaving it as jutsu, totally fair. Probably one of the reasons why is because they have to match the lip syncing. So some animal names are much longer in English than they are in Japanese. So to keep everything consistent and be able to match up the lip syncing, they left it in Japanese. A lot of people, after they watch Naruto, a lot of fans learn how to do the hand signs and they know it as the Japanese name. But they know it in the context of the hand sign. And I thought that was a great choice. And that happens for a lot of the different attack names throughout all of the series. I hear you on Reddit. Listen, I also think Naruto's voice in the dub is kind of annoying. And the reason why is also because of a grammar thing. So his catchphrase, his original catchphrase was dattebayo, which is not a word. It's not a word. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have meaning. When you have to translate that to English, dubbers had to think, okay, we need something that's repeatable. They settled on believe it.
Believe it, I'm Naruto Uzumaki.
But you can feel a sense of being annoyed by it because this kid, this 12-year-old child, is telling you that whatever he says is something that you should believe. You, the audience, should believe it.
Believe it! Believe it! Believe it! Believe it!
I can agree. You might hate it, and I get it because I also don't like it. You can admit it is iconic. So we looked at a bunch of things, but when it comes down to it, does the Naruto dub really live up to the original? I would say the dub is mid. It is mid at best, in my very humble personal opinion. But what do you think?